Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 10 based on novel. So let's start. Qingyang City, Liu's residence. Liu Huabai and the elder Liu Xincheng walked in the courtyard of Liu's house. The people who came and went were all respectful. They smiled and nodded. Then they continued to walk forward. Look at that direction. It is the courtyard where Xiao Yan lives. After walking silently for a while, Liu Huabai saw that there were no people in the Liu family around him, so he turned to the elder Liu Xincheng, who buried himself in walking, and asked, "Elder, have you really decided to give that thing to elder Xiao Yang? But that thing is the most important thing of my Liu family." When the elder heard the speech, he paused, took a deep breath, and then slowly spit it out. He looked up at Liu Huabai and looked around, but finally nodded deeply and said, "Yes, I've decided. I'd better give it to elder Xiao Yang. We Liu family are really not qualified to have it again. If we force it to stay, it will sooner or later bring the disaster of annihilation to our Liu family. It's better to give elder Xiao Yang and let him increase his strength. Only in this way can my Liu family survive. After all, now my Liu family can only rely on and believe only elder Xiao Yang has the power of." At this point, Liu Huabai's face is a little ugly and his mood is also a little low. A family can't even guard the most important things of his family. If you say it, it will become a joke. Liu Xincheng took another look at Liu Huabai's somewhat depressed look and said again, "Well, don't think about it anymore. The most important thing of the family, the root of the rise of the family, my Liu family, my current Liu family, are you qualified? Let's not say whether anyone will hear about us and come to seize it in the future. Even if no one will rob it, I'll leave the talent of these younger generations and have the ability to practice. Why don't I give it to elder Xiao Yang and fight him? A good foundation will bring endless benefits to my Liu family in the future." Liu Huabai heard the speech, sighed and stopped talking. They went to Xiao Yang's residence together. At the moment, in Xiao Yang's bedroom, 10 figures sit together, one of which is particularly eye-catching, because he is the only one of the 10 people who is completely solid and has a human flavor. Xiao Yang's soul power surged out and condensed several heavy soul beads over his head again. When his mind moved, the heavy soul beads immediately flew down, divided into 9 waves and fell from the top of each avatar. Each heavy soul bead falls down with full momentum, but each heavy soul bead disappears at the moment of encountering the 9 incarnations. The 9 incarnations trembled all over, and the body's surface sent out bursts of soft white light. Xiao Yang also frowned slightly. The expression on his face looked a little uncomfortable, but he relaxed again and insisted on holding back. After a while, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng had come to the courtyard where Xiao Yang lived. They looked at each other and walked forward together without hesitation. Liu Huabai glanced at the gate of the courtyard and glanced at Liu Xincheng. He stepped forward and raised his hand. He just wanted to knock on the door, but there was Xiao Yang's voice inside the door. "Come in, I know you're here." Liu Huabai's eyes were slightly frozen when he heard the speech. He turned and looked at Liu Xincheng on one side, but he saw the indifferent color on his face. Liu Xincheng smiled at Liu Huabai and entered the courtyard first. Liu Xincheng and Liu Huabai enter the courtyard. Xiao Yang has sat down at the stone table in the courtyard and waited. They go to Xiao Yang and respectfully salute Xiao Yanqi. Xiao Yang waved them away and motioned them to sit at the stone table. Xiao Yang glanced at them, frowned slightly and asked, "What's the matter between Master Liu and the elder?" Liu Huabai looked at Liu Xincheng, but Liu Xincheng stood up and looked at Xiao Yang. When his palm turned over, a silver scroll appeared in his hand, and his hands stretched forward on the stone table in front of Xiao Yang. Seeing this, Xiao Yang frowned slightly and looked up at Liu Xincheng, but Liu Xincheng said directly, "I believe your predecessors already know the name of my Liu ancestors." Xiao Yang raised his eyebrows and took out a scroll, but he talked about his ancestors of the Liu family. His eyebrows wrinkled, but his pupils suddenly narrowed, his eyes suddenly opened wide, and looked up at Liu Xincheng. His eyes were full of joy. Yes, this scroll is Chenjue Step. Xiao Yang had already guessed in his heart. When Liu Xincheng said this, his eyes burst out a little excited. Xiao Yang had a vague feeling that something could happen in the near future, but with his current strength, I'm afraid it's difficult to avoid it. Therefore, he would try so hard to cultivate the 9-turn incarnation formula, but according to his own speed, it's impossible to ensure peace. However, at the moment, Liu Xincheng just sent this day's unique step. For Xiao Yang, Isn't it equivalent to justice in the sky and charcoal in the snow? How can you make Xiao Yang not ecstatic? When Liu Xincheng saw the joy on Xiao Yang's face, he raised his eyebrows slightly, looked a little suspicious in his eyes, nodded slightly, and thought unnaturally in his heart. Did Xiao Yang also come to my Liu's house for this day? But then, the next moment, he overturned his thoughts with a smile. Xiao Yang stood up, stretched his hands forward, arched at the elder, and said gratefully, "Thank you, elder, for giving me this volume of Tianjueba. I've just encountered some trouble recently. I'm in urgent need of a set of body fighting skills to protect my body." "That's good. The elder gave me this set of famous body fighting skills of the ancestors of the Liu family. It really saved me from trouble. I'll thank you again." Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng were stunned when they heard the speech. Originally, they just saw Xiao Yang's surprised face and thought he knew about Tianjueba, but now it seems that they really want more. "In this way, I and my master have helped you. This is your blessing. So, please accept this volume of Tianjueba. I will leave first." As they said this, they were about to step back and turn around to leave, but Xiao Yang stopped first. With a happy smile on his face, he opened his mouth and said with a loud smile, "Ha ha. You two helped me so much today. How can I let you leave with empty hands? These things are useless to me. I'll do it. It's my gift to you," Xiao Yang said as he waved his right sleeve robe. Under the flash of white light, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng stayed directly. On the stone table in front of Xiao Yang, a pile of pills and jade bottles piled up like a small hill. Many strange things in heaven and earth are piled up without money. Among them, there is a furry little animal like a fat cat, which makes Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng look slightly at each other. The little beast saw that they were also huge. His eyes coagulated, his pupils shrank suddenly, his huge head lifted and his throat rolled. I don't know what he swallowed. The little beast turned around and saw a young man in white behind him. He suddenly became happy and jumped into Xiaoyan's arms. Xiao Yang also grinned and said a little sorry to the little beast in his arms. "I'm sorry, but I've forgotten that I still have you. You can stay here first. I don't have time to take care of you." The little beast shook his huge head when he heard the speech, but Xiao Yang touched its head, smiled and put it on the ground. The little beast looked at Xiao Yang eagerly, but his claws picked up an 8th-grade pill on the ground and swallowed it with a groan. Xiao Yang ignored it, but this scene was seen by Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng, but there was a convulsion in the corners of his eyes. They naturally recognized the 8 pills. The pills had just been seen by them, which was also quite hot. But just now, the little guy in front of them swallowed it in one bite. It has to be said that it was a natural thing. Xiao Yang smiled, ignoring the expression on both faces, and said with a smile, "Take these first. I'll go back to my room and refine some for you. What's more, I just said, because I've been busy, I'll ask you to take care of this little guy first, but please rest assured that I'll prepare the pill for you." After talking, Xiao Yang turned and entered the room. Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng only felt that at the moment when the wooden door was closed after Xiao Yang entered the house, the world suddenly became dry and hot, as if it had become a stove. Even a green tree in the yard, the leaves at the moment, also turned slightly yellow. Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng's faces were dignified. They fought with each other and kept releasing them, struggling to resist the external heat. But unfortunately, although they have extraordinary strength, the billowing heat wave emitted in that room is far from what they can resist. They are sweating like rain. Whenever sweat drips, it will turn into nothingness at the moment of dripping. The two people's strong body frowns and distorts their face. They can't even make a sound. Suddenly, there was silence around, and everything in heaven and earth returned to normal. They bent down, put their hands on their knees, rolled their dry throat hard, gasped and gasped. Xiao Yanlue's sorry voice came from the house, which made others keep pulling at the corners of their mouths. "Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't used alchemy for 10 years. I didn't control it when I came here today." Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng laughed a few times and looked at each other. In fact, they saw some surprise and helplessness in each other's eyes. If the elder made a mistake, who can't give him a chance? In the bedroom, Xiao Yang sat on the ground. In front of him, a red medicine tripod stood quietly. With a wave of Xiao Yang's palm and a flash of light, a lot of heaven and earth treasures appeared in the room, and all kinds of miraculous drugs were thrown on the ground at will. With a wave of Xiao Yang's palm, hundreds of miraculous medicines flew out of the stack of miraculous medicines. Xiao Yang slapped his palm on the medicine tripod in front of him, a crisp sound of gold and iron sounded, and the tripod cover opened. Hundreds of miraculous medicines entered the medicine tripod together. Xiao Yan clapped his palm again and clapped his palm at the fire injection port of the medicine tripod. Boom! A muffled sound of flame ignited in the top of the medicine. A brilliant flame was tossing in the medicine tripod. The essence of hundreds of essential medicines was extracted in the instant. Xiao Yang's 10 fingers moved and the fire was boiling. The refined elixir in the medicine tripod was constantly changing and integrated. After a long time, bursts of Dan fragrance came out of the medicine tripod and lingered in Xiao Yang's bedroom, and then gradually dispersed and filled the whole courtyard. In the courtyard, Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng opened their eyes, and a strong color of shock appeared at the bottom of their eyes. The two looked at each other and saw some excitement from each other's eyes. Just smelling the smell of Dan incense emitted from the room, they were sure that the pill Xiao Yang practiced at the moment was at least 8 grades. From the thoughts in Xiao Yang's words, "I'm afraid there are a lot of pills." Xiao Yang, in the name of thanks, once promoted the overall strength of their Liu family. Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng looked at each other again and frowned one after another. It seems that Elder Xiao Yang is leaving. Otherwise, he won't give us so many things. Liu Xincheng nodded slightly and sighed in a low voice with some reluctance. Liu Huabai smiled at his speech and said to Liu Xincheng, "Well, with my Liu family, how can he be bound all the time? Tianlei's oath is just a guarantee. As long as the elder has the heart to protect my Liu family, it's enough." "Oh, my Liu family is still too weak after all." They looked at each other and smiled. They didn't say much anymore. They sat at the stone table and waited quietly. Dan Xiong was like a fog. The whole courtyard was covered by the fog. The fog was so thick that people couldn't see things within 3 feet. However, in the small courtyard, beside the stone table, they still sat quietly. Time passed, and in the twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang entered the room for 2 hours. During this period, the world was calm, but Xiao Yang frowned slightly, which was very strange, because he didn't wait for Dan Lei. Strange, why can't these 8 pills lead to thunder? It seems that there are many differences in this world. Xiao Yanglu sighed, then stood up, waved his big sleeve, collected all the pills just refined into the jade bottle, and printed the formula in his hand. With the continuous change of the seal in Xiao Yang's hand, all the Danxiang qi in the house and the courtyard began to churn and converge towards the house at this moment. Xiao Yang made a condensation in his hand. In the bedroom, all the fog began to condense. Just between a few breaths, it had condensed into a white dragon. The knot in Xiao Yang's hand changed again, and the dragon also took off and soared over Xiao Yang's house. This is Dan Qi turned into dragon. Liu Xincheng saw this and his eyes were full of shock. Dan Qi turned into a dragon. It was only when the quality of Dan medicine was the highest. But now, judging from the size of the dragon and the pure Dan Qi on him, I'm afraid all the pills refined by Xiao Yang this time are of the highest quality. The two looked at each other, even though they saw a strong shock in each other's eyes, and then they flew out of the courtyard together, turned the knots in their hands, and spread light curtains between heaven and earth, covering the whole courtyard. They fell down, but they stood at the gate of Xiao Yang's yard, held the gate, and drove away all the people who came to watch the dragon. Those who came to watch the dragon were all mouth curling and left bitterly. A moment later, the wooden door opens, and you go to the figure in white and walk out of the door. Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng bow down and salute. Xiao Yang waves his hand to let them enter the courtyard. Xiao Yang sat at the stone table. With a wave of his big sleeve, a lot of jade bottles flew out upside down and piled into a 2-person high hill in front of the 3. Xiao Yang looked at them and said, "There are a total of 13,400 pills here, of which 6,300 are 7 pills, 400 are 6 pills, and the rest are 8 pills." After that, Xiao Yang took off the ring in his hand and said to Liu Huabai, "This ring is full of 8 pills. It's for the little guy. Remember, don't try to rob these pills with it. I won't care, but if someone wants to rob it, you'll be responsible for the consequences." Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng frowned when they heard the speech, but they didn't say anything. After all, it was the elder who spoke. Haoshen could listen. If one day accidentally provoked the elder, they could only bear the consequences. "Well, take these pills back first. I'll give you Naji and the little guy before I leave." After that, he threw the ring in his hand to the little beast, so he had to turn around and go back to the room to continue his cultivation. Liu Xincheng saw that his eyebrows were slightly wrinkled. He hesitated a little, but he couldn't help saying, "Wait a minute, sir. I think I should tell you something clearly. Otherwise, if you go out like this, I'm afraid my Liu family will harm you. If so, my Liu family will become a sinner for thousands of years. When Xiao Yang heard the speech, his eyebrows were also slightly picked. He turned his head and looked at Liu Shincheng again. He saw his sincere face, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised a smile. It seems that it's a little secret that the day is unique. Well, it's interesting. Listen to it. Thinking in his heart, Xiao Yang sat back at the stone table again and motioned Liu Shincheng to sit down. Liu Shincheng also knew Xiao Yang's meaning and was not formal. They sat at the stone table. Liu Shincheng didn't grind ji and spoke directly. An afternoon passed and Liu Shincheng and Liu Huabai were sent away. Xiao Yang also understood some secrets of Tianjueba. Of course, it may be a secret for Xiao Yang, but for people in the western regions, they were just waiting for Tianjueba to appear and wait for a great opportunity. Xiao Yang learned from Liu Shincheng that Tianjuebu is an ancient power in the western regions. It is one of the 3 famous fighting skills of Tianjuebu and has supreme power. Master Tianjue was once famous in the western regions. He made his debut 5,000 years ago. After only 1,000 years, he turned into an emperor and became a strong fighter against the emperor. In the next 100 years, he made continuous breakthroughs and became a strong fighter in the source territory. However, since then, he has disappeared without a trace. There is no news at all, leaving only his 3 famous fighting skills. The 3 fighting skills are all human-level fighting skills, but they are the best of human-level fighting skills, which are divided into Tianjue Palm, Tianjue Finger and Tianjue Step. Among them, Tianjue Palm is the most powerful of the 3 fighting skills. Next, there is Tianjue Finger, which is famous for its ruthlessness. It is written about killing thousands of souls and breaking immortal souls. Finally, there is Tianjue Step. Although Tianjue Step is a human-level fighting skill, its real power is really unknown and reachable. Even the Supreme Master Tianjue is unpredictable. Step by step, the highest level, walk in the world like walking in the endless void, and break thousands of moves quickly. The 3 fighting skills of Master Ju on this day are also the biggest treasure in the western regions. They are the way to open the cave left by Master Ju. Only the 3 skills of Master Ju on this day can open the tomb of Tianjue. Tianjue's cave was always a secret and no one knew it. However, since 1500 years ago, someone inadvertently found a stone tablet left by Master Tianjue Stone, and knew the secret. Therefore, the southwest region began to fluctuate. Just 500 years after its founding, it became one of the 5 major gates in the southwest region. Because the deputy patriarch Liu Feng mastered one of the 3 unique skills of Master Tianjue Step, he was killed by the other 4 major gates. Since then, Chaoyangzong has become the history of southwest China. However, Chaoyangzong has not been completely destroyed, and even the 4 major doors have not been Tianjue Step in the end. Because the largest family force in Chaoyang sect, the people of Liu Feng's family, under the desperate cover of Liu Feng, fled the sect door with Tianjue Step, but in the future, they can only live like a lost dog. When the Liu family fled, Tianjuebu didn't know where he was. The 4 main sects were extremely angry. They sent most of the people of the sect to go out and look for them. They also killed all the aristocratic families who were friends with the Liu family, but in the end, they couldn't find them. Liu Feng was not dead at that time, but he was already seriously injured. He was on the verge of life and death. It was only a matter of time to die. Liu Feng left the golden plaque and the scroll in Xiao Yang's hand with the feeling of lifelong cultivation when he was dying. It's a pity that the descendants of the Liu family are ignorant and wasted this golden plaque. Now, although it is found that the hands and feet of the 4 major doors have reached here, it's impossible for Liu Jiao to rise strongly without relying on external forces. At this point, Xiao Yang also knows the real reason why Liu Shincheng gives this volume of Tianjue Step to himself. He not only wants to make friends with Xiao Yang, but also wants to tie Xiao Yang more tightly with his Liu family. However, it is not important for Xiao Yang. There is no doubt that Liu family and Xiao Yang will protect. Liu Shincheng's doing so is quite unnecessary for Xiao Yang. The next day, early in the morning, Xiao Yang woke up from his practice, walked out of the door, looked up at the eastern sky, where there was a touch of morning glow, telling the world that today is a new day and a new starting point. Xiao Yang walked out of the courtyard slowly and walked in Liu's house. Along the way, the Liu family saw Xiao Yang with a respectful face and bowed to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang smiled back and walked slowly. The Liu family lives in Liu Huabai's discussion hall. They are having a morning meeting with Liu Shincheng and other Liu family elders. Outside the hall door, A bodyguard suddenly reports that Xiao Yang has arrived in front of the hall. When Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng heard the speech, their faces changed slightly. They got up and ran outside the hall. When they passed the Liu bodyguard, Liu Huabai glared at him. The bodyguard also looked embarrassed and helpless. "I'm on my way early in the morning. I hope you'll forgive me for missing me." Liu Huabai strode forward, took all the elders of the Liu family in front of Xiao Yang, and bowed to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang smiled and asked them to be excused. Then he looked at Liu Huabai with a gentle smile on his face and said, "Master Liu, since I came to Qingyang City, I have been harassing the Liu family for many days. I am also involved in something in the near future, so it is inconvenient to stay more. I will leave today and I will come back when I have time." When Liu Huabai and others heard the speech, their faces changed slightly, looked at each other, and then looked at Xiao Yang together. Liu Huabai couldn't help asking, "Elder, are you leaving now?" Xiao Yang looked at Liu Huabai's reluctant look, but still smiled, nodded, and said, "I'm already busy, and there may be a war with others in the near future, so if I stay in Liu's house again, it will only hurt you, so I'm going to leave in a few days." Before the words fell, Xiao Yang waved his sleeve robe again. A furry little beast that looked like a cat appeared in front of the people. There was a ring around his neck. Xiao Yang looked at the little beast and opened his mouth to Liu Huabai and continued, "As I said yesterday, this little guy will stay in your Liu family first. When I have time in the future, I will bring him back." Liu Huabai and Liu Xincheng nodded. The other elders raised their eyebrows slightly, but they didn't say anything. After Xiao Yang explained some things, he turned to go outside Liu's house. Liu Huabai and others hurried to follow up and send Xiao Yang away from Liu's house. On the street, Xiao Yang walked slowly out of the city, feeling the noise in the street. Xiao Yang showed a comfortable smile at the corners of his mouth. He felt so calm and the noise of Philistines. He hadn't felt it for a long time. Xiao Yang walked on the street with a relaxed face, but he frowned slightly and looked around. He unexpectedly came to the slum. He didn't care. Anyway, he just planned to wave around the city and leave. Xiao Yang walked all the way to the depths of the civilian area. After walking for a long time, Xiao Yang finally stopped and looked around with his eyes as if he were exploring something. There was silence all around, but Xiao Yang suddenly brightened his eyes, moved his body, and disappeared in place. In a dilapidated courtyard, there were 3 men and 1 woman. Among them, 1 man lay on the ground and a knife made of refined steel fell aside. There was no man's breath and no blood on his body. His face was purple and black and his eyes turned up. It was obvious that he died of poisoning. The other 2 men, dressed in black samurai clothes and holding steel knives, turned their backs to the dilapidated wooden door of the yard. They were trembling all over and couldn't help looking at their dead companions. Their eyes were full of fear. Opposite them, a girl in white with a delicate face was stepping backward. Her eyes carefully glanced at the house behind her and retreated carefully step by step. Her eyes were full of fear. Suddenly, one of the 2 men squeezed his eyes towards the other. The other man frowned slightly and hesitated for a moment. He still looked up at the little girl and said, "Little girl, your ability is not small, but unfortunately, even if you don't die today, you must leave Qingyang City. Otherwise, it will be too late for you to regret when adults come. Therefore, you'd better make a choice as soon as possible, either die or leave Qingyang City and don't come back." When the little girl heard the speech, her face turned white and her body trembled. Her eyes quickly turned red. Drops of hot tears immediately filled her eyes, but her mouth was still stubborn, crying, "No, this is my home. Grandma, they are all dead. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave." The little girl was crying. A burst of purple and black clouds rushed out of her body and shrouded them. Looking at the color of the fog, we can see that it is absolutely poisonous. Seeing this, the 2 men suddenly changed their faces. They fought with each other and gushed out quickly. They formed an energy shield in front of them, surrounded them, quickly retreated and fled outside the courtyard. It was late to castrate. The way they retreated was blocked by the purple and black fog. It was impossible to escape. They were anxious and could not support for long. If you can't rush out of the purple and black fog before the gas mask is broken, your death will be a foregone conclusion. After all, no strong man is willing to come to the slum. Bang! A dull sound sounded around. They didn't know where it came from, but they felt that the purple-black fog that was eroding the shield was slowly dispersing. As soon as their eyes lit up, they showed a happy look. It can be seen that at the moment, it was obvious that someone had subdued the little girl. They looked at each other and smiled. Their eyes were full of vitality. When the poisonous fog dispersed, two figures appeared. A man in white robe was standing in front of the little girl with a gentle smile on his face. At the moment, the little girl, with tears all over her face and trembling body, clenched her hands into fists and danced all over her head, makes people feel very poor at a glance. Xiao Yang smiled and leaned over to look at the little girl. The little girl was about 12 or 13 years old. Xiao Yang stretched out his hand and wanted to smooth the strands of hair on the little girl's face aside. The little girl shrank back in fear. Xiao Yang looked at the little girl's slightly frightened eyes, raised a warm smile at the corners of her mouth, and whispered, "Don't worry, little girl. I won't hurt you. What's your name?" When the little girl heard the speech, she shrank back and asked, "My name is Liana. You're not the strong one they just said. You're here to kill me." Xiao Yang was stunned when he heard the speech. The corners of his mouth smoked slightly. My luck was so bad. They just said, I came. After calming down, Xiao Yang began to cry and laugh. "Don't worry, I have nothing to do with them. I won't hurt you. You can do whatever you want. I won't stop you. I just hope you can go with me." Liana's face changed slightly when she heard the speech, and her body retreated a little step back. Looking at Xiao Yang, she was full of vigilance, which also made Xiao Yang feel quite embarrassed. Xiao Yang's thoughts flew around and reorganized his language. Then he said again, "Of course, what I said to leave is not to leave Qingyang City. You will still stay in Qingyang City in the future. Moreover, my brother promised that you will never hurt innocent people again." As soon as Xiao Yang said this, the little girl's eyes lit up, showing a trace of joy in her eyes. Her mouth also burst into a lovely smile, which attracted Xiao Yang to smile. "Is what my brother said true? Liana will never hurt anyone again?" Xiao Yang smiled, nodded, and said to Liana, "Well, my brother will cure your disease, and will bring you a sister who has suffered from this disease to be your master. That sister is my brother's friend. The master will be very kind to Liana and can make Liana very powerful." Liana was delighted when she heard Xiao Yang's words. After Xiao Yang's action had disintegrated her poison fog, she had already determined that Xiao Yang was a very powerful person. She was even more sure when she heard Xiao Yang say so. After all, the vision of the strong is very high. Generally, the strong will choose their own disciples. Many strong people like to dig treasures in the secular world and find a gifted disciple. This is common. Therefore, Liana was even more delighted when she heard Xiao Yang say she wanted to find a master for her. With a master, she wouldn't have to be afraid in the future. She would also become a strong man. No one dared to bully her. So after Liana said a few words to Xiao Yang, she was very excited to follow Xiao Yang. Anyway, as long as you are in Qingyang City, it doesn't matter whether you worship the teacher or not. After all, as long as you follow Xiao Yang, you will be very safe. So, Xiao Yang and the little girl were both happy and left here. The little girl's heart is naive to think that staying in Qingyang City safely cannot hurt others, and can have a very powerful master to protect herself. And why didn't Xiao Yang think so? He finally met a disaster poison body. He found an apprentice for the little medical immortal. How can he be unhappy and don't take good care of him? Yes, it's a misfortune poison. Xiao Yang saw the misfortune poison for the third time. For the first time, he naturally worked hard to finally control the little medical immortal of the misfortune poison. As for the second time, of course, it's the Valley Master of the Ice Valley, the Glacier Venerable, the Glacier. Although it's an artificial disaster poison, if it really grows up, its power is probably no less than the real disaster poison. Therefore, the Glacier Valley leader, Glacier, whom Xiao Yang saw, naturally saw a disaster poison body. As for the Liana she saw this time, she is also a pure disaster poison. However, Liana's physique is still in the initial stage, and there is still a long distance from the real growth. Therefore, Xiao Yang wants to take advantage of Liana's birth stage to protect it first. On the one hand, in order to prevent her from hurting others, on the other hand, she also wants to protect her and keep a satisfactory apprentice for the little medical fairy. In this way, it can be the best of both worlds. Xiao Yang leads Liana. Liana hides behind Xiao Yang and follows her closely all the way. It seems that she is afraid that others will see her. Xiao Yang also comforts Liana all the way and asks her not to be afraid. This makes Liana closer to Xiao Yang. Before long, a big man and a small man came to Liu's residence. As soon as the two guards saw that Xiao Yang was back, one of them immediately ran into Liu's residence and called Liu Huabai and others. The other one came to Xiao Yang, bowed and saluted, took a little look at Liana, and took Xiao Yang and Liana into the Liu family residence. A moment later, Liu Huabai, the leader of the Liu family, and Liu Xincheng and other elders of the Liu family came to Xiao Yang with a smile and bowed to Xiao Yang. Looking at Xiao Yang returning again, everyone thought he would stay for another period of time, but they didn't want to. As soon as they met, Xiao Yang explained the purpose of coming back this time. Xiao Yang looked at the sighing eyes of Liu Huabai and others, smiled, but shook his head slightly. Then he said, "When I come back this time, I don't intend to stay in Liu's house for another period of time, but I want you to do me another favor." When Liu Huabai and others heard the speech, they all raised their eyebrows slightly, looked at each other, looked at Xiao Yang with a calm face and no color of retention. Liu Xincheng first opened his mouth to look at Xiao Yang and asked, "I don't know if you need my Liu family's help. If you can help me, I Liu family will do my best to help you." Xiao Yang smiled and nodded, then smiled and said, "In fact, it's not a big deal." Xiao Yang smiled, looked at Liana holding his sleeve, then looked at Liu Xincheng, and then said, "Just after I left, I found this little girl. I think he has good physique and unique talent. I happen to have a good friend. When I was young, it was similar to her now. Therefore, I helped him book this disciple first. However, now I can't find my good friend, and I may have some trouble in the near future. Therefore, I want to trust it in the Liu family first." Liu Huabai and others twitched when they heard the speech. They went out and brought back a gifted disciple. If it's not that their eyesight is too good, they must have too low eyesight. Judging from Xiao Yang's strength, their eyesight will not be low. If the Liu family can make friends with him and climb up the little girl's future master, isn't it inevitable that the Liu family will rise? Besides, now Xiao Yang sent her in person. Didn't he mean to do it? Liu Xincheng's eyes glittered and looked at Xiao Yang with gratitude. Now, Xiao Yang gives this great opportunity to the Liu family. How can he not cherish it? Liu Xincheng looks at the lotus standing beside Xiao Yang and pulls out a smile on his wrinkled old face, which makes people look and feel very kind. Xiao Yang smiled at this, looked at Liana with a timid face, looked at Liu Huabai, and said a few words. Liu Huabai dismissed the elders, leaving only the elder Liu Xincheng. Together with Xiao Yang, they entered the hall of discussion. A moment later, a young man trotted into the hall. Liu Xiong closed his eyes tightly. Xiao Yang pointed his finger at the center of Liu Xiong's eyebrows. A flash of light flashed across Liu Xiong's body. Liu Xiong trembled violently. After a few breaths, Liu Xiong slowly opened his eyes and nodded to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang looked at Liu Huabai and solemnly said, "I hope only you three know about it. In the future, if Liana has anything to do, please three." The three nodded heavily. Xiao Yang looked at Liana on one side again, and pointed at the center of Liana's eyebrows. Liana shrunk his head in fear, but he still didn't hide. Xiao Yang smiled, his fingers closed, and a flash of fire flashed. At the center of Liana's eyebrows, there was a lotus-shaped fire seal just like Xiao Yang's eyebrows. Liana frowned, reached out and touched the warm fire seal, glanced and didn't speak. Xiao Yang turned to look at Liu Huabai again, especially Liu Xiong. After a good film was carved, he said again, "I'm sure you already know about Liana through my voice transmission just now." The three men nodded together when they heard the speech. Seeing this, Xiao Yang continued, "So, you all know the method of sealing?" The three nodded again, and Liu Xincheng said with a smile, "He, if we can't even enlighten our predecessors, we'll live in vain." When they heard the speech, they smiled again. Xiao Yang looked at Liu Xiong and continued, "Among the three of you, I am quite relieved of the Liu family leader and the elder. Only you, Liu Xiong, have heard little about the world. You may not be able to control the outbreak of Liana at that time. Therefore, I left my god of fire seal in Liana's body, which is enough to completely suppress the poison fog of Liana's physical strength. Therefore, you can rest assured and will never let you have an accident." Liu Xiong's eyes slightly changed when he heard the speech, but in the end, he nodded with determination. Xiao Yang smiled with satisfaction. Then he went outside the hall. This video will end here.